Part 163. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1621. Chapter 1621. I don't know how long this love can last. Chin-han watched from the sidelines and said to his assistant after finishing it, "It's better than I imagined." The assistant also nodded in agreement, "It's not bad. Although it's not as good as Brother Han's performance, it's not too bad. As long as it's not too bad and doesn't ruin Brother Han's brand." Chin-han smiled. He looked at Mo not far away, thinking that with Mo's conditions, he would definitely be a formidable opponent if he entered the entertainment industry. However, even if he is a branch of the Mahist family, he is still a wealthy and aristocratic family. In the eyes of ordinary people, being an artist is a very prestigious and lucrative profession. But in the eyes of the real wealthy aristocrats, he still cannot stand on the stage. So, even if you are just a branch of the Mo family, there is absolutely no way you can enter the entertainment industry. Bai Yusheng is an exception. What's more, Bai Yusheng is still a director, not an artist. Thinking of this, Chin-han couldn't help but worry a little for Chiao Mian. With a family background like the Mo family, can Chiao Mian marry into it? Mo seems to like her very much now, but he doesn't know how long this love can last. Don't be like other wealthy dandies who lose people after the novelty wears off. "How are you, wife? Is my performance okay just now?" Mo looked at Chiao Mian and asked. Chiao Mian was not stingy with praise, nodding and saying, "Yes, not bad." Mo immediately said, "If there is a play like this in the future, I can still be a substitute." Chiao Mian. Okay, you have nothing to do here. You two can leave the set and go on a date." Bai Yusheng watched the two of them leaning closely together and whispering, and directly let Chiao Mian go in advance. Normally, even if Chiao Mian's scene is finished filming, she will wait until the entire crew has finished filming before leaving. But today, Bai Yusheng didn't mind showing favoritism and let his sister and brother-in-law leave early. Couples are newlyweds and they still need to cultivate their relationship. As the older brother, he naturally wants to create opportunities for them. Mo was not polite at all. He took Chiao Mian's hand and said, "Well, then I'll take her away." Let's go." Bai Yusheng waved his hand as if to drive him away, looking like he disliked him very much. "Hurry up, my actors can't perform well if you stay here. They are all so frightened by you that they can't even remember their lines. Stay here, don't come again if nothing happens." Chiao Mian. Mo still looked indifferent, as if he didn't take Bai Yusheng's complaints seriously at all. He nodded and said, "Then let's go." Mian, let's go." Chiao Mian was led away by him. "Wait until they leave." A group of actresses and female staff members gathered together and started chattering. "Chiao Mian's boyfriend is so jealous." In order to prevent Chiao Mian and Chin-han from filming an intimate scene, he actually acted as Chin-han's stand-in and filmed that scene. God, this is too sweet and cruel. Come on. Where's the sweetness? I think that man is too possessive. I don't like men who are so possessive. They will be controlled at any time and have no freedom at all. You have to like someone very much to have a strong possessiveness anyway. I think it's quite sweet, and I just want to find someone who can control me. Why are my concerns different from yours? I think Chiao Mian's boyfriend is too handsome. Even more handsome than Chin-han. There were rumors before that her boyfriend was a bad old man, but I didn't expect him to be so young and handsome. Oh, I'm so envious." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1622. Chapter 1622. I'm worried that something happened to Luoluo. I heard it was a branch of the Mo family, so it must be a wealthy family. He is so handsome, so rich, and yet treats her so well, she must be so happy. What is happiness? Since she is from the Mo family, do you think she can marry into it? It is impossible for a famous family like the Mo family to let a small artist enter. That's right. With a family like the Mo family, you must find someone from the right family. Those women who were envious of Chiao Mian just now finally felt a little more comfortable in their hearts, and instantly felt that they had found a little sense of balance. With a family like the Mo family, Chiao Mian, a young artist, really couldn't get married. No matter how nice her boyfriend is to her now, he will eventually marry another woman. The story of Cinderella is a fairy tale after all. In real life, where do so many fairy tales come from? But, even if she cannot marry into the Mo family in the future, Chiao Mian should not suffer any loss. Falling in love with such an excellent man is a very profitable thing in itself. Furthermore, her boyfriend is also very generous to her. He will definitely not wrong her in terms of the breakup fee when they break up. Asterisk. Leave the crew. Mo Yesi asked Wei Zheng to arrange a restaurant for the evening date early in the morning. Is a restaurant on the hillside, a bit far from the city, and the location is relatively remote. But the environment is elegant and quiet, and after dinner, you can also watch the stars on the observatory in the restaurant. Mo Yesi felt that Chiao Mian would definitely like it. After Chiao Mian got in the car, she couldn't help but feel a little strange when she thought that Zhang Luli hadn't contacted her in the past few days, so she sent Zhang Luli a WeChat message. Normally, Zhang Luli would complain to her every day. Even if there is nothing going on, the two of them will chat about their daily lives. But this time, Zhang Luli didn't contact her for 2 whole days. Although it was not a strange thing, Chiao Mian still felt a little unusual compared to usual. She sent the WeChat message and waited for more than 10 minutes, but Zhang Luli didn't reply. Chiao Mian felt a little uneasy. She called Zhang Luli directly. A mechanical female voice sounded on the mobile phone. "Hello, the number you dialed has been turned off." When Chiao Mian heard Zhang Luli's cell phone turned off, the uneasy feeling in her heart became even stronger. Her expression changed. Beside him, Mo Yesi quickly noticed something strange about her. While waiting for a red light, he stopped the car and turned to look at her. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Chiao Mian nodded, held the phone tightly and said, "I'm worried that something happened to Luoluo." "You mean Zhang Luli?" Mo Yesi was stunned for a moment. "What's wrong with her?" Chiao Mian bit her lip and said, "I just sent her a WeChat message, but she didn't reply. I called her, but she turned off her phone again." "So it's because of this incident?" Mo Yesi chuckled. "Isn't this normal? Maybe her phone is out of battery. Are you too nervous?" "No." Chiao Mian's voice was firm. "Luoluo hasn't contacted me for 2 days. She usually takes the initiative to chat with me every day. And her mobile phone rarely runs out of battery. I just feel that Luoluo has met." "What's the matter?" "Mo Yesi, I'm really worried that something happened to Luoluo." "Don't be anxious yet." Mo Yesi reached out and gently pressed her shoulder, comforting her. "I'll call my elder brother and ask." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1623. Chapter 1623, he probably wants her to help pay back the money. Well, then give brother a call quickly. Chiao Mian's heartbeat accelerated. She bit her lips and said, "I'm really worried about Luoluo." Seeing how worried she was, Mo Yesi immediately took out his cell phone and dialed Mo Shixio's number. It rang for a while before Mo Shixio picked up the call. Mo Yesi asked straight to the point, "Brother, have you met Zhang Luli in the past 2 days?" Have you contacted me today? She went back to her hometown, so we haven't seen each other this week, but we contacted her in the morning. What's the matter? Mian called her just now and she turned off her phone. Mian was worried about her, so she asked me to call and ask you. Shut down. Amo Shixia was silent for a few seconds, and then said, maybe the phone is out of battery. Well, that's what I told Mian too. She said that Zhongluli's mobile phone rarely ran out of battery, and she was worried that something had happened to Zhongluli. Since you had contacted her in the morning, there should be no problem. Mo Yesi said a few more words and hung up the phone. Brother and I have contacted her this morning, so don't worry, it's probably because the phone is out of battery. Yeah. Even so, Chiao Mian still felt uneasy. Because every time she contacted Zhongluli in the past, there was no power outage. However, Zhongluli and Mo Shixiu had only contacted each other in the morning. Then it should be nothing. Perhaps she thinks too much. Zhongluli is a very smart person who can take care of himself. She would call later to check. Even if her phone was out of battery, it would be time to charge it in a few hours. Asterisk. The other side. Mo Shixiu hung up the phone and dialed Zhongluli's mobile phone number. The sound rang from his cell phone, indicating that Zhongluli was powered off. Originally, Mo Shixiu thought it was okay to turn off the phone. Sometimes it was common for the phone to turn off while playing games. However, Chiao Mian said that Zhongluli rarely turned off his phone. For a time, Mo Shixiu couldn't concentrate on his official duties anymore. He called Assistant Su into the office. Mr. Minister, Assistant Su said respectfully, do you have any instructions? Mo Shixiu pondered for a few seconds, then frowned and said, how will I plan my next trip? Assistant Su immediately reported, Mr. Minister, you need to fly to Country S tomorrow and stay in Country S for a week. After you come back from Country S, you will have about 1 day off. Assistant Su thought he wanted to arrange a date with Zhongluli. After thinking about it, he added, if the minister wants to cultivate a relationship with Miss Zhang, he can squeeze in time. When the time comes, he can take Miss Zhang over. That's not the case. Mo Shixiu threw the pen in his hand on the desk. Isn't this the case? Assistant Su's eyes showed confusion. Then the minister suddenly asked me what the purpose of my trip was. Mo Shixiu asked about his itinerary before, and it was all related to Zhongluli. Go and check right away. Why did Miss Zhang return to her hometown this time? Yes, Mr. Minister, I will check it right away. 10 minutes later. Assistant Su found out the cause and effect of the matter and reported to Mo Shixiu, Mr. Minister, I found out that Miss Zhang went back this time because of her brother's affairs. Zhongluli's younger brother? Mo Shixiu knew this. He nodded and said, continue. Yes. Assistant Su thought for a moment and then said immediately, Ms. Jiang's brother owed someone a sum of money and was imprisoned in the police station. Her parents called her to go back. They probably wanted her to help pay back the debt. That money. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1624. Chapter 1624. Book a flight to Hiken immediately. Owe money. Why do you owe money? Gamble. How much is owed? 10 million. Mo Shixiu frowned. 10 million? Why do you owe so much? This number is naturally not too much for him. But for the Zhang family, an ordinary family, it is undoubtedly an astronomical figure. Long ago, he had someone investigate Zhongluli. That was the night when he was framed. After meeting Zhongluli, Assistant Su was worried about Zhongluli and worried that Zhongluli was someone arranged by the enemy, so he went to investigate carefully. He also knew at that time that Zhongluli had a younger brother named Zhonghai. Zhonghai likes to gamble and has also incurred gambling debts. But it is definitely not normal to have a gambling debt of 10 million. Given the economic situation of the Zhang family, it is impossible for others to make Zhang Hai owe so much money, because the Zhang family simply cannot afford to pay it back. Mo Shixiu realized that this matter was not simple. His expression darkened, and he picked up his cell phone and called Zhang Luli. Still shut down. The expression on his face suddenly became serious. Mr. Minister, what I found out is that someone lent Miss Jiang's brother 10 million after he got the money. He lost it all because he couldn't pay back. He was arrested and sent to the police station. You mean, someone took the initiative to lend him 10 million? Yes. Do you think this is normal? Of course it's not normal. Assistant Su thought for a while and analyzed. If it's a loan of 10 or 20,000, that's normal. With the Zhang family's family background, it's very possible that they can't even repay 1 million, let alone 1 million. 10 million. The person who lent the money to lend so much money to Miss Jiang's brother must have inquired about the situation of the Zhang family and knew that the Zhang family could not afford the repayment. So I think their purpose of borrowing the money was to make Miss Jiang's brother repay the money. If he doesn't, he will be arrested for not paying back his debt. Well, your analysis is correct. Mo Shi's slender fingers, which were clearly articulated and like works of art, gently tapped the table. After pondering for a few seconds, his eyes became colder. It's just that they put Zhang. What's the purpose of arresting Hai? I don't know. Is the Zhang family enmity with someone, so the other party is seeking revenge? The Zhang family is just an ordinary family. They can afford 10 million people, but they will not become enemies with the Zhang family. Besides, if you want to take revenge, there are many ways, so you don't need to use this method. What the minister said is that a family like the Zhang family doesn't need to worry about letting people pay for it. But the person who borrowed the money is indeed targeting the Zhang family. So, it's possible that it's not targeting Zhang Hai, but other members of the Zhang family. At this point, Mo Shixiu's expression changed. As soon as something happened to Zhang Hai, the Zhang family called Zhang Luli and asked her to go back. And Zhang Luli has been back for several days. Mo Shixiu pursed his lips, a trace of worry flashed in his eyes, and tightened his grip on the phone. He stood up without thinking. Book a flight to Haikan immediately. Assistant Su was stunned and looked at him in surprise. Mr. Minister, are you going to Haikan now? But, you have to go to Country S tomorrow. If you go to Miss Zhang now, it will be too late. If Mr. Minister really misses Miss Zhang, I can go and bring Miss Zhang back. It's not because of this. Mo Shixiu frowned his thick black eyebrows and said solemnly, I'm worried that something will happen to Luo Li. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1625. Chapter 1625. How could it be you? Book your flight now, don't waste any more time. This matter is settled, don't say any more. Assistant Su. Mr. Minister, are you too willful? At this moment, Assistant Su deeply felt the power of love. You must know that their minister is a person who values work more than anything else. There has never been any incident that affected my work. In his mind, work comes first, and then everything else. Even when he was dating Zhang Luli, he never let his personal feelings affect his work. This is the first time that he has put his work aside. So this was a very surprising and unexpected thing for Assistant Su. He never thought that Zhang Luli's position in Mo Shixiu's heart would be so important. Assistant Su knew very well that once it was decided by Mo Shixiu, he could not persuade him. Although he didn't agree with this approach in his heart, he could only obey the instructions and immediately book the nearest flight ticket. At the same time, he began to make an emergency plan so that if Mo Shixiu's schedule changed tomorrow, he would at least be able to cope with it. Don't just improvise. Asterisk. When Zhang Luli woke up from a coma, she found herself lying on a strange bed. The room is also unfamiliar. Her head was still a little groggy, and she lay on the bed in a daze for nearly a minute before slowly waking up. His body is still a little weak and he can't exert much strength. She struggled to sit up from the bed. It took about another minute before I remembered what happened before I fell into coma. She was called downstairs by Father Jiang to eat. Jiang's mother cooked a table of delicious dishes for the first time, served her food, poured her water, and even apologized to her. Then, she drank the glass of water that Mother Jiang poured for her. Zhang Luli's face suddenly turned 2 points pale, and his heart seemed to have been severely scratched by a sharp weapon. She never expected that Jiang's mother would do such a thing to her. She thought that no matter how partial Jiang's mother and Jiang's father were, she was still their daughter. They will not do anything too extreme. But now, looking at the unfamiliar furnishings in the room and the closed door, Zhang Luli curled his lips mockingly. His heart felt as if it had been immersed in ice water, freezing from the inside out. She still overestimated his parents. She also overestimated her place in her parents' hearts. With a squeak sound, the door opened. Zhang Luli clutched the sheets underneath him tightly and looked at the door with a defensive and ruthless look in his eyes. After the door opened, a man walked in from the outside. There was no light on in the room, so Zhang Luli couldn't see clearly what the man looked like, and could only vaguely see a rough outline. Looking at the figure, he is a tall man. She bit her lip and looked at a vase that seemed to be placed on the bedside table next to her. She slowly moved it over with one hand. Snapped. The room suddenly lit up. The man turned on the light. When Zhang Luli saw the man's appearance clearly, his eyes widened suddenly and he said in surprise, "Brother Zuan, how could it be you?" Xie Zuan stopped and stood 5 or 6 meters away from her and looked at her. He looked at Zhang Luli with complicated eyes, and after a few seconds, he said, "Luli, don't you know what happened?" Zhang Luli shook his head. "Brother Zuan, where are you?" When he saw that the person coming in was Xie Zuan, Zhang Luli relaxed a lot and was not so scared anymore. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1626. Chapter 1626. Let's get married. Xie Zuan can be regarded as the big brother next door who grew up with her childhood sweetheart. From primary school to junior high school, both of them were in the same school. Later she went to high school in the city, and she and Xie Zuan were no longer in the same school. Zhang Luli is still very relieved about Xie Zuan. Zhang Luli still knows what kind of person Xie Zuan is, the brother next door who he grew up with. She just doesn't understand why Xie Zuan is here. Where exactly did Jiang's father and Jiang's mother send her after she fell into coma? Xie Zuan looked at her and hesitated for a few seconds, then said, "Luoli, your parents gave you to me and asked me to take you away. This is S city, a beautiful and livable city." Brother Zuan. Zhang Luli frowned and interrupted him, "My parents asked you to take me away, and then you agreed to them? Also, why did you bring me here? What exactly did they ask you to do?" Xie Zuan's eyes flashed and he looked at her in silence for a while before speaking in a low voice, "Luoli, your parents told me that someone wants to harm you. That person is very powerful and cannot be competed by the Zhang family. If I don't take you away, they won't let you go," the other party said. Xie Zuan raised his eyes and glanced at Zhang Luli. His expression became a little uncomfortable. He hesitated for a while before saying, "As long as we get married, they will not make things difficult for you anymore." Zhang Luli's expression suddenly changed. "Marry?" Yes, Xie Zuan raised his eyes and glanced at her again, clenching his fists tightly, and said nervously, "My uncle and aunt mean, let us get married and settle in the city from now on. That's why you let me take you away." Here, this will be our new home from now on. Luo Li, although I can't give you a rich and noble life, I will do my best to be good to you. Zhang Luli's face suddenly turned pale. She took a deep breath, turned over and got out of bed. Her legs were still a little weak, so much so that when she got out of bed, she almost lost her balance. Upon seeing this, Xiezuan immediately walked over and reached out to help her. Zhang Luli avoided his hand and placed one hand on the wall next to him. "Brother Zuan, are you kidding? How can we get married?" Zhang Luli said with shock and anger in his eyes. "I don't know what my parents told you, but I didn't tell you plans to get married. I am still studying and will not consider getting married. If you were under any pressure to agree to such a ridiculous request, then No, no one forced me." Xiezuan clenched his fists, and a blush suddenly appeared on his fair and delicate face. He glanced at Zhang Luli with twinkling eyes, then lowered his eyes and said, "Luo Li, actually I was pleasantly surprised when my uncle and aunt told me about it. I never thought that such a good thing would happen to me." Zhang Luli opened his eyes wide. "Brother Zuan, you..." "Luo Li, actually I have liked you since I was a child." Xiezuan was panicked, but he still mustered up the courage to say, "It has always been my dream to marry you and become your husband. So, I volunteered. I heard from my uncle and aunt that the person who asked you to leave is a very powerful person." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1627. Chapter 1627. What she worried about didn't happen. "Luo Li, we are just ordinary people, we can't fight them. Just listen to your uncle and aunt, okay? I swear I will be good to you. Even if you don't like me and don't want to marry me, it doesn't matter. We can get the marriage certificate first. I promise that before you completely accept me, I will respect your wishes and not do anything to force you. I'm really afraid you'll get hurt." Zhang Luli now fully understood what was going on. Everything, including setting up a trap to get Zhang Hai to owe a huge sum of money and get caught, was all aimed at her. She now knows very well who the person behind the scenes is. She wanted to sneer. Mo really took great pains to get her to leave Mo Shixiu. In Mo's case, Mo would really feel at ease only if she got married. "Brother Zuan, I'm sorry, I still can't agree to such a ridiculous request," Zhang Luli said firmly without any hesitation in his eyes. "No matter what I have to face in the future, my life is my own decision. Let alone a big event like marriage, I will not get married casually for some ridiculous reasons." Xiezuan was stunned for a moment, with a hint of hurt flashing in his eyes. He was not surprised by Zhang Luli's rejection. However, he knew that the possibility of her agreeing was extremely slim, but he still held on to a glimmer of hope, thinking, what if she agreed? Even if she doesn't like her, as long as she is willing to marry him, he will treat her well all his life. The reason why Father Zhang and Mother Zhang asked him to take Zhang Luli away was because they knew what he was thinking about Zhang Luli. Seeing that Xiezuan was silent and did not speak, Zhang Luli hesitated and walked slowly to him. "Brother Zuan, I'm sorry, I'm not saying you're bad, it's just..." "Luo Li, you don't need to say anything." Xiezuan raised his head with a wry smile. "Actually, it was my extravagant wish. I also knew that you would definitely reject me, but I always refused to give up until I heard your rejection. Now that I know your thoughts, don't worry, I won't force you to do anything you don't want to do." Hearing what he said, Zhang Luli breathed a sigh of relief. Although she felt that she understood Xiezuan, after all, people also change. She was still afraid that Xiezuan would use strong tactics against her. Fortunately, what she worried about did not happen. "Brother Zuan, you are very good, but I have always regarded you as an older brother since I was a child." Zhang Luli thought for a while and said politely, "You are so good, you will meet someone who is really suitable for you." Xiezuan looked at her with some pain in his heart. He wanted to tell her that he had liked her for more than 10 years. This feeling has been very deep for a long time. He has never thought about marrying any other woman except her. Ever since he was a child, he has always liked her. In fact, there is no one more suitable for him than her. She is the one who is most suitable for him. If you miss her, everything in the future will be a makeshift. It's just these words that he still didn't say out loud. He could see that Zhang Luli really didn't mean anything to him in that regard. So, why would he say these meaningless words? It would only embarrass the two of them. Well, I hope he squeezed out a smile from the corner of his lips. Thinking of what Father Zhang and Mother Zhang said, he said with worry in his eyes, "Luoli, what are you going to do in the future? That person should still be looking for you. You are in trouble." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1628. Chapter 1628. Mo Shixiu actually came to look for her. Zhang Luli thought for a moment and said, "Brother Zuan, can you use your mobile phone?" Originally, there were some things that she didn't want to tell Mo Shixiu. She will not affect the mother-son relationship between Mo Shixiu and Mo because of her. But now, she felt that she had nothing to worry about. The result of her scruples was that she was bullied like this. Of course Xiezuan immediately took out his mobile phone and handed it to her. "Thanks." Zhang Luli took it and called Mo Shixiu. Who knew that Mo Shixiu had turned off his phone? Zhang Luli frowned, and then dialed Assistant Su's number again, but Assistant Su's cell phone was also turned off. She thought that the two of them might be having some important meeting, or maybe they were on the plane. Mo Shixiu often flies abroad, and it is normal to be on the plane at this time. She then dialed Mo Shixiu's residence phone number. After the call was connected, Sister Lin's voice came over. "Sister Lin," Zhang Luli called out. "Over there." Sister Lin seemed stunned for a moment, and then said happily, "Miss Zhang." "Well, it's me," Zhang Luli asked. "Sister Lin, did Mo Shixiu go on a business trip abroad?" "I just called him and Assistant Su, but they didn't get through. They said the phone was turned off." "Oh, Miss Zhang, you finally turned on your phone," Sister Lin said with joy in her tone. "Mr. didn't go on a business trip today. He went to see you. Assistant Su was with him. You kept turning off your phone when your husband called you before. Sir is worried about you. He was afraid that something would happen to you in your hometown and he couldn't contact you, so he had to look for you. Counting the time, Sir should be getting off the plane soon. If you call him later, you will definitely be able to get through." Zhang Luli was surprised. "He came to my hometown to find me." Ms. Zhang, just be fine. Your husband is so kind to you. I have never seen him care so much about anyone. He put down a lot of things in his hands to look for you. In my heart, nothing compares to you. His job is more important. But now, Miss Zhang is more important to my husband than work." After hanging up the phone, Zhang Luli still couldn't believe it for a while. Mo Shixiu actually came to look for her. Just because he called her, she turned off her phone, and he didn't trust her. Let alone Sister Lin, even she herself never thought that Mo Shixiu would do this for her. Beside, Xiezuan looked shocked and looked at Zhang Luli in disbelief. His face was filled with an expression of astonishment. "Luoli, is there any relationship between the Mo Shixiu you just told people about and the Minister of Security? Their names seem to be the same. It is normal to say that not many people know about Mo Yesi. But Mo Shixiu often appears in the public eye, and there are still many people who know him." Zhang Luli was stunned for a moment, then turned his head to meet his gaze. There was a flash of hesitation in her eyes, but in the end she decided to tell the truth. "He is the Minister of Security, Mo Shixiu." Xiezuan's face showed a look of shock again. "Do you know him?" Yes, I know you. What's your relationship with him? Siezuan actually had a vague guess in his mind, but he didn't want to believe it. He also felt that it could not be what he thought. Zhang Luli is just an ordinary student. However, from the conversation she had with others just now, she even knew Mo Shixiu's phone number, and the relationship between the two seemed unusual. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1629. Chapter 1629. He is my boyfriend. Zhang Luli was silent for a moment, and then said, he is my boyfriend. If she didn't know what Siezuan was thinking about her, she might choose to hide it. But now, she thought it would be better to tell him about it. In this way, he should no longer have any thoughts about her, and there will be no need to waste time on her. Siezuan guessed that the relationship between Mo Shixiu and Zhang Luli was unusual. But when he knew that Mo Shixiu was Zhang Luli's boyfriend, he was still shocked. There was a look of disbelief on his face. Mo Shixiu is your boyfriend, Luoli, aren't you kidding me? It's not that he doesn't believe it, but because of Mo Shixiu's status, he and Zhang Luli are from completely different worlds. His class has never been able to come into contact with people of Mo Shixiu's class in this life. It is like a person living in heaven. One lives underground. So how could Mo Shixiu be Zhang Luli's boyfriend? This is incredible. How did the two of them get together? Zhang Luli looked directly at him and said, Brother Zuan, I'm not joking with you. He is really my boyfriend. I know many people won't believe this. How did he and I know each other? It's not convenient to tell you, but I won't joke about this kind of thing. In fact, how could Siezuan not know this? He also knew that Zhang Luli would not joke about these things. He just didn't want to believe it. If Zhang Luli's boyfriend was just an ordinary person, he would still have a chance to compete. But Mo Shixiu. How could Siezuan not know how outstanding this man is? This is someone he cannot surpass no matter how hard he works in his life. If Zhang Luli's boyfriend is Mo Shixiu, then he has no chance at all. Luoli, have you ever thought about it? Siezuan was silent for a while, then raised his head and said, the difference in status between you and him is too big. You will not have any results. Do you think he will marry you? This time maybe his parents asked him to do it. He is Mo Shixiu, one of the candidates for the next president. His wife must be the right woman for him. When you are with him, aren't you afraid that you will get hurt in the end? Zhang Luli smiled, so what if there is no result? It is enough to be with the person you like, even if you have had it before. Even if ordinary people fall in love, it is not certain that there will be good results once they fall in love, right? There are also many feelings without results. So I don't think it's necessary to think so much, just be happy in the moment. Brother Zuan, what do you think? Siezuan looked at her and couldn't say a word. Because he found that Zhang Luli's eyes would shine when he talked about Mo Shixiu. She really likes Mo Shixiu. Since she doesn't care about the consequences in the future, what else can he say? Luoli, since you have made up your mind, then, I wish you happiness. Brother Zuan, thank you. Siezuan was silent for a few seconds and then asked, has Mo Shixiu come to see you? Then are you going to wait for him here? Okay, then you, wait for him here. You must be hungry after sleeping for so long. I will go out and get you some food. If you need anything, just call me and I'll be outside. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1630. Chapter 1630. Luoli, Are you crying? After Xiaozuan finished speaking, he turned around and left. Not long after he walked out of the bedroom, Zhang Luli's cell phone rang. She looked down and saw that the number displayed on the screen was Mo Shixiu's, and she immediately picked up the call. Luo Li, is that you? When the man's cold and familiar voice came over, Zhang Luli's nose felt sour, and he suddenly felt like crying. The grievance that he had been enduring all this time was suddenly unbearable when he heard Mo Shixiu's voice. The man who is usually calm and self-possessed and doesn't panic when he encounters anything, on the phone at the moment, his seemingly calm voice is filled with a hint of anxiety. Zhang Luli could tell that he was worried about her. Mo Shixiu, she bit the corner of her lip and softly called his name, and then tears flowed out with a pop sound. Luo Li, are you crying? Mo Shixiu's voice sounded more anxious than before. Where are you now? Are you in any danger? Don't be afraid, no matter where you are, I will take you go back. I have already gone to your hometown and just got off the plane. I will take you back soon. Zhang Luli couldn't stop crying. She didn't know why she couldn't control her tears when she heard Mo Shixiu's voice. Ming Ming, she felt particularly wronged and sad from the beginning, but she also held back from crying. She thought she could be strong. It turns out that her strength also depends on the person. Mo Shixiu, she stretched out her hand to wipe the tears on her face and said with sobs, your trip has been in vain. I am no longer in my hometown. Not in my hometown, then where are you? I'm in another city. I'm safe now, you don't have to worry about me. Then why are you crying? Where are you? Zhang Luli choked again and told him the address. Okay, just wait, I'll go find you right away. Asterisk. On the other side, Haikan Airport. Mo Shixiu asked Assistant Su to rebook his flight before he left the VIP aisle. Assistant Su hesitated and advised, Sir, your itinerary cannot be changed tomorrow. Since Miss Zhang said she is not in danger, sir, you don't need to go there in person. I can go and pick up Miss Zhang. Please don't worry, sir. I guarantee that Miss Zhang will return to you unscathed. Mo Shixiu shook his head, I will pick her up myself. On the phone just now, he heard Zhang Luli crying. That was the first time he heard Zhang Luli cry. She always looked carefree and heartless in front of him. Mo Shixiu had never seen her cry. So, even if she said it was nothing, she must have been frightened. Otherwise, an optimistic girl like her would not cry easily. He said he would pick her up, so he would definitely go. As for tomorrow's schedule, it is no longer the most important thing in his mind. Sir, Assistant Su wanted to persuade him again. Mo Shixiu glanced over with a cold gaze, and Assistant Su immediately shut his mouth, not daring to say anything more. The minister who fell in love really seemed like a different person. Hey, I'm so melancholy. In the past, he was looking forward to the minister being able to fall in love, and was afraid that if he did not contact women or fall in love for a long time, he would have problems with his sexual orientation. I am also afraid that he will be too focused on work and will be alone in the future. But now. End of this chapter.